Okay, on this one, I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to change this problem just like we did in class. I'm going to change this to a -8. Okay? Otherwise, it's very similar to the previous problem. So I'm going to change this to a -8x. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and work through putting this into vertex form. So we want to make sure it's currently in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, which it is. Then we want to factor out the a from the x squared and the x term, but since the a is 1, it really has no effect. So you can write the a out in front if you'd like, or you could just leave that as nothing. So then this is x squared minus 8x, close parentheses, leaving a space there because we're going to come up with that third term, plus 6. So again, if I were to drop the parentheses here, we'd be right back to where we started. Okay. Now I want to come up with this third term. So it's going to be half of -8, which gets you -4. And then when you square that, you get positive 16. So this is going to be a positive 16. Okay? But now I need to compensate for that. Is that really a positive 16? Well, this 1 would get multiplied by it. 1 times 16 is positive 16. So technically I would want to add 16 to this side, but I really don't want to, so I'm going to bring it back over to this side by subtracting out 16. So this term and this term should cancel out. And now we're ready to do the factoring step. Okay, so we're going to factor. So y equals, our a is still our a. Remember, our a in both formats are the same. Now our trinomial should factor nicely into a binomial squared, so this times itself should get you x squared, so that's x. Since your middle term is negative, this is going to be minus. What times itself gets you 16? That's 4. And then on the outside, positive 6 minus 16, that's -10. Okay. So now this is in vertex form. Here's your a, your h, and your k. So if you wanted to know your vertex, what is your vertex? It's positive 4, the opposite of the x, and -10. Okay. So let's look at another problem. This one, we have an a value that's not 1. So this one is going to get a little bit more complicated. Okay. So we start off. It's in standard form. We got the ax squared plus bx plus c, but now we're going to need to bring out that a, because recall that a in vertex form is the same a as standard form. So the -4 is going to come out. And then in parentheses, you're going to have to take this out of those first two terms. So you're going to take -4 out of -4x squared, which is going to leave you with the x squared. Then you have to divide -4 out of -64x. Well, -4 and then -64 goes in, I believe that is 16 times. So that's positive 16x. Okay. And then we're not going to pull it out of this term because that's not part of our perfect square trinomial, so we're going to leave a gap. We're going to close our parenthesis, and we're going to write the -262 on the outside. Okay. So now we're ready to come up with our third term. So we're going to take half of the 16, which is going to get you 8. We're going to square that, and that's going to get you 64. So this number here is a positive 64. Okay. Now, we need to compensate for that over here. Well, this is where things get a little trickier, because this a here gets distributed to all of these terms, including this term, and a times d in this general form is AD. So you need to multiply those together, and then you would actually add A times D to this side. But again, we don't want to do that, so we're going to subtract it from there. So let's see what that looks like on this one. -4 needs to get multiplied by the positive 64. Well, if you multiply these together, you get a negative 256. Because negative 4 times positive 64 is negative 256, which means we should be subtracting 256 from this side. But we really don't want to. So I'm going to get rid of it over there, and I'm going to subtract it from this side, minus 256. Okay? That's the tough part. The last step will always be easy. Y equals your A, which is negative 4. Now this factors extremely nicely. What times itself gets you x squared? It's just x. Since both sides are positive, this is plus. What times itself gets you 64? That's 8. And now negative 262. Oh, have a mistake here. This should be plus. This should be plus 256 because it was minus on this side, should be plus on that side. So now when we add these together, negative 262 plus 256, this gets you negative 6. So now this is in vertex form. What would your vertex be if you were asked? It would be negative 8, it's the opposite of that, and negative 6. Okay? So we will do some more examples of this. I want to do a couple of your homework problems in videos, and I'll post that by the homework answers.